other is politics. I will start with the economy and then go to politics. The economy, is it really doing bad? If you look at, I shall be very honest with you, if you look at broad matrix, broad parameters like growth rates of per capita income, of inflation rates and so on, the economy is not doing badly. It's doing reasonably well. The growth rate is acceptable. It's good. It's a good growth rate. However, when we talk about the economy, we have to understand that we are talking about the Indian people, not the amount of wealth that is being created in the economy, but how the people are doing. And where are these people working? Well, I will talk from just one government publication. It's called Periodic Labour Survey of NSO, National Statistical Office of Government of India, 2026. So it's very recent. About 90% of Indians are working in the informal sector. Only 10% are in the formal sector. All the growth is taking place in the formal sector, and that is creating an illusion that most Indians are doing well. Actually, they are not. You know, about this 90% Indians, what is happening? You know, among them, 50% are self-employed in small establishments. They are either family establishments or, you know, hiring very few people, less than 10 in any case. And most of the workers are casual workers. Only 17% have permanent jobs. And some of them actually provide free service. There is no job security. Earnings vary as of 2026. Vary between 8,000 and 15,000 rupees per month. So it's not a great amount. We are basically talking about small shopkeepers, vendors, transportation labor, gig workers, and family-owned small establishments employing very small number of people. So this is the real India. I know the audience, you know, I'm addressing, they represent a particular class. I also represent a privileged class, but we have to understand that we do not represent India. It's the informal sector people who represent India, and that is not doing well. Why? Well, investment per establishment is very low. Technology is very primitive, and productivity, most important, is very, very low. So you cannot expect to have a program like Make in India with such a huge informal sector. In agriculture, a lot of people are employed there. Landless, marginal and small farmers comprise 86% of cultivators, and all of them have very low income. So in 23-24, there was a survey for the bottom 50% of the Indian population, the bottom poorest. Monthly per capita expenditure for the rural people, it's just about 2,500 rupees per month. And for the urban people, it's like 4,000. This is for the bottom 50%, but if you go down, like bottom 20%, it's much, much less. So people are just surviving. We cannot talk about a shining India under these circumstances. So, some people talk about trickle-down growth. They just assume that if growth takes place at the top, it will automatically trickle down to the bottom. It doesn't take place. For example, between 2018 and 2024, only there was a 1% increase in formal sector jobs. So it took 4 years to create a 1% increase. So if trickle down happens at this rate, it will take like 160 years to reduce the share of informal sector to 50% from 90%. Now we come to the political part. Why people are still voting? Well, at least, in the south we have a different picture, but at least in the north, in the west, in the east, BJP is doing very well. They're winning elections. So what is the reason? Of course, Mr. Chidambaram talked about SIR and all. I will not talk about that, but I will identify other reasons. One reason is that there has been a spread of a kind of collective nationalism, which gives you a feeling of pride and superiority. You feel that, India it's a great country. Of course, it's a great country in certain ways, but in certain other ways, it's not. So this spread of nationalism lets you, makes you look the other way about the current failings of the government. You don't look at yourself or your surroundings, but you look at past glories or something which is very distant, like India sending a satellite, or India hoping to be the fourth, in terms of GDP. That does not concern the poor person, but he is led to believe in a kind of nationalism which is being spread very cleverly, I would say. Second, spread of religious insecurity among the Hindu majority. There is no such insecurity, frankly speaking. I am a Hindu. My culture is thoroughly, comes from a Hindu background. But I don't feel insecure. But very cleverly, an insecurity is spread so that you get a villain, you get an enemy in the minority. Actually, the enemy, your displeasure should have been expressed against the government. But instead of doing that, you are doing it against a fictitious minority who is going to steal your cultural existence. This is being created. And finally, there is a lack of property rights and rule of law in the informal sector. People have, they flout all sorts of laws, like in the informal sector there is no labor law, there is no environmental law. So you need political protection to survive. And it's, the best strategy is to support the ruling party for political protection. So once a party is in power, there is a tendency for it to remain in power for a long time, because people seek political protection for their survival in the informal sector. Now, some of these problems could have been solved if a proper education were in place. And as far as education is concerned, everything is distorted. History is being distorted again and again. Periods of history are being completely wiped off. And all this, I think, fits into a big scheme which helps the existing party to win elections. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guru. Thank you so much. Very well articulated when you said